I'm going to change direction now somewhat from 3D GIS into education and speak to you about careers with GIS. So I'm Addy Pope, I'm part of the small education team within Esri UK. And I'm going to pose a question to you. What did you want to be when you were 14? Now, when I was 14, there was a big BBC computer that was wheeled out, and you filled in what you wanted to do, and the computer gave you some options. Does anybody remember that? Some people. It told me that I should be either a dustbin, a refuse collector, or a gravedigger. I think that's because I put in that I like to work outdoors. And those were probably the only two options that had outdoors. But actually, I spoke to a colleague earlier, and they had leather technician as their option. Now, he and I don't actually understand what leather technician is. But it's interesting, you maybe have ended up in your dream profession, or it's very different to what you were thinking about when you were 14. So now put yourself in the shoes of a 14-year-old in a modern society with the internet everywhere and social media. What do you want to do? Some of you probably have 14-year-olds at home. If you Google geography, you get images like these coming back. Classic globes, exploring in far-off places, often hostile environments. Certainly some maps. And with the increasing use of social media, wanderlust, pandemic. But what are the pressures and concerns of modern teenagers? What if they're more into esports than adventure sports? What if they have a disability and that extreme environment is somehow out of reach to them? What if they don't feel like they belong within a community? Well, we all know what the geospatial community is. We know what it looks like, it sounds like, and it smells like. We also know the variety of jobs, because everybody in this room has a slightly different role to somebody else. And I'm always astonished where GIS is being used and the breadth of organisations where it has utility. But I think our industry is slightly hidden from your average 14-year-old. And it's not deliberately hidden. It's just, it's a bad analogy, but if you get on a cruise liner, you don't instantly go, hey, can I see the engines? Because they're really interesting. Okay, some people probably would love to see the engines, but you usually go and see the fancy stuff on deck or look out. But GIS is often the engine room of an organisation, making sense of data to make informed decisions. And we think our industry is somewhat hidden. But we know the true meaning of geospatial and the value. We know the interesting careers that we all do. We know the engaging work that gets us out of bed on a wet Monday morning. We have amazing colleagues who inspire us to do more. We're adopting emerging technology. You only have to think back 3.5 minutes to some emerging technology which is being used. We are making a positive difference, and we certainly are part of the solution. So how can we get that message into a classroom so as teachers can inspire the next generation to follow a career into GIS? Well, we thought maybe we can't visit every single school. There's something like 22,000 in the UK. So we made a video, and I'm going to show this video to you now.
Growing up, getting older. Yep, we've all got to do it. We can't stop it, it's happening. And that big question is always there. What do you want to be?
When I'm older, I'd like to be a neurobiologist.
I would like to become a doctor.
I really wanted to be an astronaut.
I'm not 100% sure.
I want to be a zookeeper.
Geography is so good. So good.
Funny. Or is it? Geography can mean more than you think. It's not just dusty old maps, colouring in, and corduroy trousers. Well, yes, there is a little bit of that. Geography is here, there, and everywhere. It's fighting climate change. It's challenging inequality. It's wildlife conservation. It's technology that makes a difference. It's knowing the world that we live in and changing it for the better. So who knows, maybe geography can actually help you. Well, find you. And GIS is what makes it happen. GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, is a technology that helps understand the world around us so we can build a better future for everyone. So what's not to like? Let's hear from some of the people that actually use it.
Growing up, I was always faced with questions such as, why geography and what are you going to do with it? Following university, I accepted a role at United Nations. I worked with the Syrian Emergency Response Team, and my main role was to develop these cartographic maps that allowed field workers to go out on site, to go into these disaster zones and deliver aid safely. And that was just life-changing. That whole experience was just amazing. And here I am now, currently working for Arcadis, working large infrastructure projects. If you're passionate about something, you should pursue it. You have every right to pursue it.
Data makes the world go round. Having organised, accessible data for everyone can improve people's lives. One of the key things that we've done in introducing active travel to communities is looking at those areas where they don't have access to public transport, so we can use our maps and data to understand those communities' needs. It will help to lead to reduced obesity levels, improve deprivation as well, by communities being able to connect to better employment opportunities and also housing as well, and that just puts a smile on my face.
I loved geography at school, and it was something which I had a real passion for. I was approached by HeliGuy to come and work for them and to fly drones to develop GIS mapping. Flying drones is something I really enjoy because it allows you to see the world from a different perspective. I work on cool projects which involve drones, data and maps, which all help to improve people's lives. I was surprised by how many opportunities I've had from studying geography. I'm now flying drones and doing the job I love.
You see that? Geography is where it's at. It takes you places you never thought it would. So what do you think? Is it time to map out your future and change the world?
I'll stop it there. 3.5 minutes seems like a long time when you're alone on stage, not speaking. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. It couldn't have been made without cooperation from some schools down in London, the Harris Academy, and we're grateful for them allowing us to film in a school, which I think you can appreciate is not the easiest thing to sort out. We've built a website called Careers with GIS, where we hope to profile various people in the GIS sector to show what careers they do and really shine a light on sectors of the industry which will be hidden. And hopefully this little video is playing and showing you how you can get into it. And what we're doing here is we're giving them some options where they can look at either the sectors that we're quite familiar with, but we've cut them down to be very basic, very general. I don't think large-scale infrastructure is something that a 14-year-old would necessarily understand. But we've also given them some sort of things that they might identify with or want to do, such as working abroad, or maybe they're not going to take a university route. Or maybe, you know, they're young women and they're going to say, well, I want to see other inspiring women that are in the sector that I might want to go into. Here I've picked Tom from Sustrans, who should be maybe in the audience, and he allowed us to ask him some questions. So he started doing biology and he went on to an MSc in conservation before joining Sustrans. Now I can see that Tom was passionate about conservation and making a difference, and his job now in sustainable transport is an obvious link to me. If he can make people have less impact, then the environment will be a better place. But to your average 14-year-old, again, it seems like a big jump from marine biology to sustainable transport. But it depends what Tom's driven by, doesn't it? So these are available for any teacher or any pupil to go and look at. There's about 15 to 20 on there at the moment. But what am I asking? What are we asking for as a sector? What can you help us with? Well, really, it's if you find this orange banner in just behind the main door in the auditorium, go and speak to Katie and Dave, and you can join GeoMentors. Now, I've stood up here and talked about GeoMentors before. We've been running it for about 5 years, but it was clear after a couple of years that teachers were using it in a way that we hadn't really anticipated. We thought we could go in and help them with GIS, But what they actually wanted was people like us to go in and tell their pupils what they did for a living, to inspire them to take geography, to take an exam in geography. So it's going to be Hires in Scotland, or what's it called? National 4s, National 5s. I should remember that. My wife's a teacher, but I forget everything. We want to inspire people to take geography. So you can join the GeoMentors program, or if you think you've got an interesting story, or there's somebody in your organisation that you think should be featured on the Careers with GIS portal, speak to Katie and Dave, and then we can make contact with them, and we can make their story map, so as their story is visible to the next generation.